Hello, my name is Luigi Pascarella. I'm an associate professor of surgery in the Division of Vascular Surgery and vice chair for diversity, equity, and inclusion in the Department of Surgery at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I am presenting tips on how to create an inclusive environment for LGBTQ plus colleagues and trainees. I have no disclosures pertinent to this topic. Learning objectives. Number one, how to define gender and sexual orientation. Number two, strategies on how to create an inclusive environment for LGBTQ plus colleagues and learners. In this slide, an outline of my talk. First and foremost, I'd like to present myself in a proper fashion. I am Luigi Pascarella, I'm a vascular surgeon, and my pronouns are he, his, and him. Now, what does mean LGBTQ plus? Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning. How about the plus? Plus means that all genders, identities, and sexual orientations are included. Asexual, cisgender, intersex, non-binary, gender non-conforming. Definition of gender. Gender is a socially constructed identity centering around notions of masculinity, femininity, which includes aspects of identity and expression. Gender expression, the way an individual conveys their gender, including their choices in clothing, hairstyles, mannerisms, communications, patterns, social roles. Gender identity. A person's own understanding of themselves in gender categories such as woman, man, gay, girl, transgender, genderqueer. How an individual feels inside and believes themselves to be. How about sexual orientations? Sexual orientations can be defined as an inherent attraction to a sexual partner of a certain gender, or the absence of gender preference in sexual relationships. One's identity as asexual, bisexual, heterosexual, gay, pansexual. The community. The LGBTQ community is a highly diverse and multifaceted minority, encompassing different genders, cultures, ethnicities, and ways of living. LGBTQ plus individuals face unique multidimensional cultural and health-related needs, and shares with other groups challenges related to social stigma, discrimination, and disparities. I'd like to start the slides with what I call the LGBTQ plus paradox. And then forgive me the busy slides and some personal events in my life. In 1952, the American Association of Psychiatry declared homosexuality as a sociopathic personality disturbance, and it was included in the DSM. In 1969, Stonewall riots in New York City happened. In 1973, homosexuality was removed from the DSM. In 2003, 30 years later, homosexuality was decriminalized. Laws against sodomy were considered unconstitutional by the US Supreme Court. In 2004, Massachusetts became the first state to legalize gay marriage. In 2008, I was a resident in general surgery, and I became domestic partner with Marcus in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. At that time, the city of Chapel Hill was the only city in North Carolina allowing same-gender domestic partnerships. In 2009, the Matthew Shepard Act expanded the hate crimes to include those crimes motivated by gender, sexual orientation, and gender identity. In 2010, Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, gays and lesbians can serve openly in the US military. In 2013, I got married with Marcus in Iowa City, Iowa. Iowa at that time was one of the 4 states allowing same-gender marriage. In 2015, gay marriage legalized in all states by the US Supreme Court. And in the same year, the American Association of Psychiatry declared in a policy statement there was no evidence of benefit from conversion therapy. What is the paradox? Well, despite progress in the last 50 years, some barriers are still present. In 2018, selling a wedding cake to a same-sex couple was considered a violation to the free exercise of religion, the Masterpiece Cake Shop ruling. In 2021, greater than 100 bills limiting rights on transgender people are still present. And in 2022, few states in US have full bans on conversion therapy. Now, when I think of the LGBTQ plus community, immediately comes to my mind how many people in the United States identify as LGBTQ plus. Well, we really don't know. In 2020, the census missed a big opportunity, counting LGBTQ plus people. There's been an effort from the Household Pulse survey to start collecting data on sexual identity and sexual orientation. The survey was sent to a total of 4 million of people from July 21st to September 13th of 2021. Responses are shown in the slides. The response rate was 6.1%. Well, data shows that 88% of people surveyed were straight, 4.4% bisexual, 3.3% gay or lesbian. Unfortunately, no data on transgender people was collected. Now, in order to identify the number of LGBTQ plus people in the United States, we need to rely on the Gallup poll. In 2022, 7.1% of the US population identified as LGBTQ. Well, this has been an increase compared from previous years. This may be a sign of a cultural change. We also know that 20% of the respondents belong to the Generation Z, 10.5% millennials, and 4.3% Generation X, my generation. The majority self-identified as bisexual, 20% as gay, 13.9% as lesbian, and 10% as transgender. Now, the medical field, including surgery, has not been immune from the overall societal debate on LGBTQ plus individuals. In 2018, the AMA added sexual orientation and gender identity as an option to include in demographic profiles. Of the 15,000 doctors and students that volunteered that information, 4% identify as LGBTQ plus. The AMA last week also promoted an LGBTQ plus Analyze caucus meeting in Chicago, Illinois. How about surgery? Data on surgery is somewhat limited. Data from the Association of American Medical Colleges is quite granular on gender and race and ethnicity. And in this data, we can really appreciate profound disparity between, in terms of gender and race and ethnicity. However, data is very limited on how many practicing surgeons identify as LGBTQ+. There has been a call from Surgical Society to start collecting data on members' LGBTQ+ status. This is my profile from the American College of Surgery that collects data on LGBTQ+ status. This is my profile also from the Society for Vascular Surgery collecting data on gender identity. However, there are profound barriers for disclosure, mostly related to social stigma associated with the LGBTQ+ status, pervasive homophobia, fear of discrimination, and potential job loss. Overall, surgery is perceived as a generally unfriendly environment for LGBTQ plus individuals. In this online survey of sexual and gender minority physicians, 358 trainers and 1,528 practitioners responded. Surgical specialties, including general surgery, were found to be perceived less welcoming to sexual and gender minorities. This is an old study from that was published in the Academic Medicine in 1998. A male survey of 1,149 physicians in the state of New Mexico was sent. The response rate was 53.6%, 95.7% admitted that qualified LGBTQ plus individuals should be admitted to medical school. 7.3% declared that LGBTQ plus individual should be discouraged to apply to general surgery. 16.2% of surgeons would discourage LGBTQ plus medical students from applying to general surgery residency. In this survey of about 7,000 general surgery residents in ACG knee surgery training programs, 305, about 4.8% identify as LGBTQ+. High rates of discrimination, sexual harassment, and bullying were found, and attending surgeons were the most common source. Question is how to create an inclusive environment for people like me. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is that the creation of an inclusive environment is a collective effort. There has to be an alignment between institution, department, and individuals. Institutions must create policy of non-discrimination based on gender identity and sexual orientation. Diversity, equity, inclusion should be one of the pillars of the institutional mission. Same benefits for LGBTQ plus families should be implemented. Periodic training opportunities should be implemented as well, and there has to be a clear reporting process for discrimination incidents and non-retaliation policies. Departments, there must be an alignment between institutional vision on diversity, inclusion, and equity, and departmental leaderships. Periodic opportunity for discussion on DEI, including grand rounds, lectures, and other educational activities. Ensure implementation of anti-discrimination policies, and mostly, it is responsibility of departmental leadership to create a work environment that is friendly to LGBTQ plus individuals. How about individuals? Diversity, equity, and inclusion should be a collective effort with the goal of creating an environment where all the voices are welcome, heard, and respected. Let's go over some tips of an inclusive environment for LGBTQ plus individuals. The first thing that comes to my mind is awareness and cultural competency. In particular, awareness is very important. First, identities can be complex. The concept of intersectionality. Identities are complex and intersectional. LGBTQ plus individuals may belong to historically oppressed communities. Number two, openness and disclosure. Visibility aids priming of a more inclusive environment. I am an openly gay man, and I'm always happy to share my story when appropriate, including my daily struggles. I was also very lucky to have the opportunity and privilege to work and be mentored by individuals that allow me to express my sexual orientation and foster me as one of them. Outing. Self-disclosure of LGBTQ plus status may be difficult, and people may not be comfortable in being out and or outed due to societal perception of the social stigma. Do not expect outing. Normalize pronouns. Encourage pronouns in profiles, video conferencing software, participant names, staff bios, HR and payroll software, name tags, nameplates, and business cards. And most importantly, do not assume. I'm Luigi Pascarella. I'm an associate professor of surgery, and my pronouns are he, is, and him. I'd like to be referred as Luigi. For me, language matters. Encourage use of a non-assuming inclusive language. Not inclusive terms would be, hi guys, ladies, gentlemen, invite your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband to an event. Use the term spouse, mankind, chairman, doorman, the man in the green shirt, transgendered, transwoman, transman, homosexuals, the man in the green shirt. Now, it is important to understand that there is no quick fix. Despite progress in societal acceptance, the journey is still long and uphill. Currently, transgender individuals are the most at risk in the LGBTQ+ community on a daily basis. For organizations trying to progress LGBTQ+ polity, there are many steps to take. Honestly, it's on all pride and parties. Allyship, stickers and tags for LGBTQ+ and allies are important. Recruitment of LGBTQ+ inclusion champions and liaisons. Alignment with the community, connection with the LGBTQ+ community and support community initiative. At UNC, we always have our own participation at the Chapel Hill Pride and Durham Pride. Compassion. It's important to understand that there will be all the different stages in life. And I tell to my students and trainees that while discrimination may happen and as such cannot be tolerated, however, if a mistake is made, it is okay to graciously educate. Conclusions. The creation of an inclusive environment is a collective effort. Advancement have been made, but gaps and barriers due to societal attitudes and perceptions are still present. Awareness of difference and the intersectionality within the LGBTQ+ community are essential, and it is important to use an inclusive language. And at this point, I will take your question. I'd like to thank the Society for Vascular Surgery for inviting me for this talk, especially in this month, Pride Month. Thank you so much.